I've seen the plight of queer people in Nigeria, and I myself have been a victim of Kito and setup. Before I left Nigeria in 2013 to come to Canada to study, in 2012, I was studying at the University of Port Harcourt, Uniport. I was SUCF Year 1 coordinator at that time and also SU secretary. I was a person of fervent faith. In 2012, precisely on August, I was on To Go and I was having a conversation. To Go then had a place where you could have conversation, same-sex conversation. To Go used to be very inclusive, so I was having a conversation with this To Go user online, and we talked for a month. We talked for that August, we talked to September ending. He used to call me on MTN midnight call. That time when they used to have like a free call where you could call during the night, and we used to have a lot of conversation, and I used to tell him my hope and aspiration. I thought I had found somebody who was going to be my companion at that time. After this conversation, I noticed that he constantly wanted to meet me. He kept on insisting we need to meet, and at then he said he was from LMA, and I was a very busy person in school, fellowship. I didn't have time to even say, okay, I was a promiscuous person who walked from one bed to another. So I decided to meet this person because we've so much invested in ourselves at that time. 8 weeks and some weeks, a month and some weeks to go. So let's say 2 months, 2 months, that is 8 weeks, and some extra weeks of conversation. So I decided to go down to LMA, and I went down to LMA that day. And when I got to LMA, I remember going through LMA. There used to be a white Anglican church. I don't know if it's St. Andrew or St. Michael. I can't remember the exact name of that Anglican church, but I know the Anglican church is a gigantic Anglican church, and it is white. It's a white painted Anglican church, and he told me to come to his place, and I got to his place. I saw him with his friends, a girl and 2 boys, and he was like, okay, don't worry, I'm going to discharge my friends and they're going to go. I literally watched them leave. They left the premises. He locked the door to gain my trust. But when we became intimate and he started kissing, we started kissing and we started touching, and I undressed myself, that was when I had a slap to my face and I began to see stars. And before I knew this, she be homosexual, she be nanya, she don't come fuck. Then the friends that I thought that had left came back inside the room. The guy had a machete in his hand, or what we call a cutlass, and he used the cutlass to flog me. He flogged me till I bled, and they told me they were going to kill me, cut off my body, and dump me inside the LMA river. That they've done it a couple of times. And I was very young then. I was just 17, and I was devastated. I didn't even know what to say. But the only thing I then was that my mother's father was king. He was Onishago. He was king of our place, of my mother's place. So I explained to them that my grandfather was His Royal Highness this, and if I was killed, I had told my friend Per I was coming to LMA, and I had given him the address. So definitely it's not a question of where did I go to. My family will know where I went, and they will trace me to this place, and there will be a clash in community fight between the HA people and the LMN people, and they then saw reason. The fourth person that later came when all these things were happening was one of their friend who claimed to be a policeman. So he came in and he said he was a policeman. He mentioned his division. He says he was going to take me to the police station because I had committed a crime. And then I told him that my uncle was a former DPO of the police, and he asked me to mention his name, which I mentioned my uncle's name, and he knew I was telling the truth and I told them about my background. So they did not decide to call my parents, because my mom was a barrister. You guys know by now, my mom is a barrister. So my mom is a barrister and I had a legal counsel and I could fight that case. But my point is that the only thing that saved me from dying that day, or the only thing that saved me from that humiliation and that situation, is because I have a family background that had something, a form of a privilege in the society from where I came from. I had privileges. I had privileges that many queer people do not have. Many queer people don't have. And it saved me. So sometimes it's appalling when people look at me and call me the king of Kito's, because I myself have been kitoed, have been beaten, I have bled, I have been injured, and till today, my right foot isn't straight because of an event of my sexuality when I was in high school. All the boys in my high school then ganged up together. I woke up one morning, they had belts in their hands, and all of them, let's say 20 boys in high school, they came together and they flogged me. All of them, they flogged me one by one. They kept on flogging me and shouting, "Shebi you be homo, Shebi you be homo, Shebi you be homo." And it's appalling that some people who claim to be activists or people who claim to be fighting for us will look at someone like me who has survived Kitos, not once, not twice, not even 3 times. Is it when they pushed me in the boys' hostel bathroom and I cut my leg? I was in the hospital for 6 months, sat on a wheelchair. The doctors told my parents that my right foot was going to be amputated because of that incident. So I have survived. I have survived Kitos. I have survived what these wicked people can do to a person. And anytime I see these videos, anytime I see these images, it triggers what they did to me. It triggers the pain they did to me. And they win anytime they do this to another person. So that is why I am so passionate about Kuru Talk. In case most of you don't know, some of you think I'm doing it to be famous. Who fame help me? I'm a very private person, or popular, or money. Where is the money? Since a year and there has not been shishi from Kuru Talk. The only thing that I can say I've gotten from my activism is my stay here in Canada, which I am grateful to the Canadian government and to the people of Canada. But I want you to look at my story and look at my strength. I'm not a perfect person. I have made mistakes numerous times. I have been depressed numerous times. I have thought of quitting numerous times. But look at my story and live. Look at my story and fight. Look at my story and get hope. Look at my story and build a community. So Kuru Talk was built out of passion, was built out of pain, was also built out for speaking for the community. But I'm going to make this video very short. There have been a change in administrative role in Kuru Talk. You all know Kelechi and I, we started Kuru Talk. Kelechi started it, then I joined in and I continued Kuru Talk. From the logo, you see, that was made from Kelechi made the logo, but from the intro you see in the video, I made the intro. The TV template you see, the sound of Kuru Talk, you know, to how the videos and the posters are made to the current time, I made all of them. And I want people to get this very straight. Kelechi founded Kuru Talk. I also co-founded Kito. I did not steal nothing from nobody. Like I said, since Kito started, I used to compensate Kelechi for the work he used to do. And let us get it very straight so that when you guys are quoting me, you can quote it very well. I used to compensate Kelechi a certain amount of money, $100 for a month, for data reimbursement, for little change to make sure he has, where he needs to go to, if he needs to get some clothing allowances. This journalism work and this reporting work is not easy, so that is all I used to pay. That is all I could afford. But at a certain time, I can no longer afford this money. I feel like I contributed, and we as a community need to contribute. In short, I can tell you that half of the things that I and Kelechi has done, and I'm not boasting and I'm not being proud, half of the people who claim to be activists fighting for the Nigerian LGBTQ community have not. Half of the things I have done, they have not. We literally buried a community member. I'm going to look for the video and I'm going to put it on. I can't remember his name because I forget a lot, and that is something that my PTSD has on me. I don't remember things because the things I remember are very horrific, so I consciously try to forget things. And at this age now, I can't help it because I just forget things, because at a very young age, with all this trauma, the only thing I could do is try to forget these things and pretend like they never happened. So my PTSD is very bad. Sometimes it comes and it knocks me down. My family have learned to deal and cope with my PTSD. I'll talk a bit about it in a later video, but we single-handedly buried a community member. This community member died in his house. In short, his body began to decay in his house.
Godwin passed on Monday, and on Monday when he passed on, we discovered that his corpse had still remained in his sister's place. There was no money to take his corpse to the mortuary. So on this undisclosed group, they had to make an appeal to those members in the group to contribute some money to make sure that his corpse doesn't just stay in the house. The one thing that really baffled me was the environment in which he lived and where the corpse was. If you look at the walls were really not something good to write about. The surrounding where he lived was really an eyesore. I really don't think anybody should live in such an environment, especially in Nigeria. The rate of poverty is becoming alarming. People don't even have food, don't even have clean water, don't even have a clean environment. If inside of the house could be that dirty, you could imagine how outside of that place could be. That was one thing that drew my attention. Having the corpse in his sister's place was very, and it was an eyesore. Nobody's corpse should be left. Nobody should die alone, and his corpse should be unburied. That was one thing that touched me. After seeing all the plead and all the conversation, I got to discover that Godwin died because he had a kidney problem and he didn't have the resources to fly himself to India, to abroad for medication. He even had to sell one of his land from one of his friends. His friend told me he had to sell one of his property, his land, just to get some treatments, but unfortunately he died from the sickness. So on that Monday when he passed on Tuesday, the community members had to gather some money to see how to take the corpse to his maternal home, or to his people rather. When the corpse was finally carried from Godwin's sister's place to his village the following day, you could imagine that the villagers, his kindred, said he was not part of his kindred because he wasn't registered. This is where we call for most of the assault culture in Nigeria. Like, sometimes culture could become a hindrance or a taboo. How can you carry a corpse all the way from the city to your own people, and your people will say, because you haven't paid this fine, you haven't paid this fee, we can't bury this person. So the kingdom says, since he wasn't registered in their kindred, they will not be able to bury this person. After much deliberation, the sister even left the corpse and had to go back to her husband's house and switched her phone off. So they had to take the corpse with the driver to the morgue that day, and they were owing the driver 6,000 naira from the conversation, which baffles me a lot, because, like, honestly, this boy has been through a lot, he has suffered a lot. The last thing he needs is just a befitting burial as a human being. We're not saying, okay, bury him as this or that, we just say bury him as a proper human being.
His sister refused to bury his dead body because he was gay. I sent money to the Men of Integrity Eastern Integrity Group to make sure a casket was bought for this community member, and to make sure he was buried. In short, that his body was my money, my personal money. He was taken to his village. His community kingsmen refused to bury him. We had to also pay fine to make sure that that community member was buried. Philip Noni, the Nigerian cross-dresser that was beaten on the street. When he was beaten, Instablog and all these other blogs interviewed him, collected his story. They did not do anything. I, Chimereze Henry Ahunanya, the one you people insult, the foolish one, the wicked one, the one that treats people like trash, I was the one who, or the thief you people call me, I was the one who started the GoFundMe for Philip Noni. And every money raised for Philip Noni was given to Philip Noni.
Guys, see, someone just attacked me. Do you have any way? I didn't do him anything for no reason, just on my own. I don't know this guy from anywhere. He's attacking me. Look at see my face. Look at what he did to me. Just because of what did I do to him? What did he say? Attack me for no just reason. For no just reason. It's alright. See my face. I'm bleeding.
Now even Oge Chi, for their cancer treatment, I was the one who raised the GoFundMe for Ogechi. I raised the GoFundMe. I have given half of the GoFundMe, and it's still remaining $100 that needs to be transferred to Ogechi. The money will be transferred to Ogechi before the ending of this week. I did that. So I have laid the foundation. That is my point. At this point in time, I expect us as a community to continue the foundation. I cannot carry this foundation forever. So I expected by now community members will see the importance of Kiro Talk and add and support and stand with Kiro Talk. For a year and there has not been a dime, there's not been a thank you message, there's not been thanks for saving. Even the ones that I called has not said this is what Kiro Talk did, this is what Chimereze did. But you guys, sorry to say, but have ganged up, insulted and humiliated me. But that will not stop me, because I did not start for you people. I started for those who are going through pain, who have been beaten, who are still under these wicked Kitoris and community members. So at this point in time, like I said, administration has changed, and Kiro Talk has officially been divided now to Kiro Talk Canada and Kiro Talk Nigeria. It's sad to say, but Kelechi has given his terms and conditions, and I cannot meet up with Kelechi's terms and conditions anymore. So on this note, I will be standing alone, and I'll be also rededicating my service to you as my community, to you as my people, to you as Kito survivors, as people who will not give up, no matter the day and time. So, when we talk about GoFundMe, community building up, please support. I am begging you to support, because if you don't support, it will die. Without you, it will also die. Support in the way you can support. Support by sharing our videos. Support by also sharing stories of people you feel that will be of great interest. Also support by commenting. Support by saying thank you. Q Talk is here for you. The vision I have is one, to fight Kitos in the Nigerian LGBTQ community. To also fight the politicians and to fight the law against the same-sex marriage and the law that is empowering Kitos and kidnapping in Nigeria. The fourth vision I have for Q Talk is to make Q Talk the most powerful queer news outlet and television queer flicks like Netflix. It will become the queer flicks of our community, where queer people can portray their talents, empower queer people, job by queer people, for queer people, jobs to empower our community, to bring about community investment and wealth, and also to eradicate the joblessness and poverty in our community. The fifth thing I also have in vision in line. The fifth thing I have in vision in line for Q Talk is to also make immigration possible for those whose lives are endangered. Have a safe house for queer people that have been kicked out by family members. There will be a safe house, a safe hostel where they can go. Instead of asking for rent here, rent there, there will be a safe house. A safe house in Nigeria, a safe house in Ghana, a safe house in developing country that queer people can stay. In that safe house, they will also help with immigration to fasten their visas for those who do not have passports, for those who do not even have where to start for visas. They will be in those safe houses until they have their visas and they can get to a safe place. Queer people in Nigeria, queer people in Africa are suffering. So every donation you are giving, you are not giving donation for me. I am a very contented person. I work for my money. Even with Q Talk, I edit the videos, I record the videos, I make sure that everybody that has appeared on Q Talk on interviews, they get a compensation. So I have worked and I'm entitled to an earning. Secondly, I continue to work as a filmmaker and as a producer. So I am not out for begging for money for myself or my selfish aid. I am out for those who can speak. So today I urge you to donate $1, $2, $3 to improve and better the life of community members. Please go to our YouTube channel. Beneath every video you will see our GoFundMe. Every GoFundMe that will be donated to Q Talk will have a public auditing of how much was spent from last year to this year, all the record of all the community activities we're doing. We did the End Homophobia campaign, which did not cost us money, thanks to Victor Wonders, thanks to Happiest Ones, thanks to everybody who engaged in the End Homophobia campaign. It was an amazing conference. We want also to have workshop, online workshop, physical workshop to empower our community. This cannot be done for free. We have to pay people, we have to pay teachers, we have to pay speakers, we have to pay entrepreneurs, we have to also pay. Another thing you could do, advertise with us. If you have a small business, advertise. Even if it's 1,000 naira, Q Talk Nigeria, take 1,000 naira, do advert for us, take 5,000. It goes far. It will help us also pay our workers. It will also help us to get volunteers, to give them compensation for their voluntary work. It will also help us also donate to other people. So instead of this donation, I do not have money, but on my own side, I pledge to donate as little as $50 every month to this emergency fund for queer people in Nigeria starting from October. So darling, make a pledge to a queer person today to better the life. Thank you, and I remain Chimereze Henry, co-founder of Q Root Talk and founder of Q Root Talk Canada. Peace out.